Hey, my name is Lance Garvin. Welcome. We're thrilled to have a special guest in today. I've got my co-host and business partner and partner in crime, Brianna Bateman, and Christy Price from Choice Hotels. We are so excited to have you. You're in town. It worked out. The stars aligned, and you're here.
I am. It's fantastic. I'm so thankful for the long-standing relationship we've had, and it's great to actually finally meet you in person.
Yes.
And be here to do this, to talk about some of the wins we've had with FindMojo.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, you and I have known each other for over 8 years now, I think, something like that. You came to certification back in 2015.
It was 15.
Yeah.
My Facebook memories were telling me the last time I checked in this area was in 2015, and that's when it was.
It's so fun. Well, it's great to have you back here.
Thank you.
And yeah, we're glad that you can make it here too. We know
Grown a lot, changed a lot since I was here 8 years ago.
Oh yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Very cool.
well, good. Well, we've got some fun questions, and Christy is an all-star in her industry and an all-star for us as well. We absolutely love her, and we're thrilled that she could be here today. But I pulled a couple of things from your annual report that were really amazing that I had no idea. Well, I had an idea, but this put some clarity around it. Last count, Choice had over 2,100 properties worldwide. No wonder you're so busy.
It's actually over 8,000.
Whoa.
Now with
Okay, I got updated info.
So I think there's some segmentation around there. So different segmentations from a hotel franchising company. So we've got some from, upscale, our mid-scale, our core brands, which, was what really we've spent the most time when we've worked together on, and then our extended stay. So yeah, it's growing a lot.
Yeah, well, that's remarkable. Yeah, and Choice is a leader in hospitality in so many areas. With your CEO voted #1 CEO in the industry, your diversity and inclusion efforts, those are remarkable at #1 as well. Just some top awards and top benchmarks there.
We're really fortunate with the way the culture that's come from our senior leadership and our executive leadership all the way down, that it's truly a culture. It's not the lip service. So, and that's where I think we attribute a lot of that to.
You walk your talk.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it feels funny if you feel someone out of line. It's like, well, that's not necessarily the way we do things. So I think that it's truly internalized, and at that point it really true is part of the culture, right?
For sure. Well, I've stayed at multiple Choice hotels just over the last 20 years, and you see it. You see it everywhere you go. People are friendly. The properties are nice. You know what you're going to get. You feel good about it.
We certainly hope so. That's what we strive for.
Wasn't the CEO on Undercover Boss?
So that was our previous CEO of this, but yes. Yeah. So there were, it's so funny to think back at how things have changed. I think, actually he was the CEO when we first met and started working.
Right. Okay.
So yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we have Pat Pacious leading us, and
Right.
yeah, and it was Steve Joyce at that time. But yes, he was Undercover Boss, and that was always a fun story to, and it's fun to reminisce and look back at those.
Right.
I didn't see it. Did he beard it up?
Oh yeah.
Actually, he always had a mustache, and he shaved it for this. So it was a great story. It was a big thing after everything wrapped. It was, do I stay clean shaven or do I grow it back? So it was a fun little time in the company.
Oh, that was fun.
It's awesome. Tell us a little bit more about what you love about working for Choice. What makes Choice such a great place to be?
It's truly the people. We're in the hospitality industry, and just like you said, right, it's the walk the walk. If you're going to talk hospitality and that's what your business is built on, you need to be actually doing those things. So it's the people we get to meet. And, in my 14 years in my role with Choice University, so the education side of the company, in my 14 years there, we've seen so much change and so much from the way people learn and the way people think about things. And I've been field-based the entire time, so it's always kind of a joke when I come into the office that nobody can get anything done because I want to talk to everybody. Because it is, and that's what it is, but they want to. There's the communication. It's and we're in a really unique position as Choice University that we have the privilege to be able to partner across the entire enterprise. So we don't necessarily say this is the training that we all need. It's these programs. There are some that we do and we own, but a lot of it comes from the loyalty program. They want these, so we're able to partner with the people that lead the Choice Privileges program to create the education. So they bring the expertise on the content, and we bring the expertise on how to get people to relay that message and to get people to remember it. So I think it's the ability to be able to partner across and have those relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
So important.
And about connection.
It is so about connections.
Like connections with your client as well as
It
your
is.
coworkers.
It is. And I think, you mentioned I happened to be in town for another event, and it's some of my favorite things to do because it's actually interacting with the owners of our hotels. So we did some education sessions with the owners of our hotels. So those moments to connect not only across my coworkers and my peers within Choice Hotels International as the franchisor, but to really interact with the franchisees and our hotel owners and leaders.
I love that.
Yeah. Makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves me, what do you think some of my top motivators are, right? it's learning, it's friendship, it's family. So it's those networking and connecting. So exactly.
Yeah.
Friendship.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, friendship goes off the chart when you go back into the office and you catch up with everybody. And
Yeah, without a doubt.
I'm the same way when I'm in the office. So that's why Bride makes herself scarce in the office, because she knows we'll just chat for.
How do you actually get I leave the office and I have a to-do list that could, till the next time I get there, and I probably still won't be able to finish.
But sometimes that's important, right?
Oh,
That's how you fill your cup, and then you come back energized and engaged and
And new ideas.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of the things that's really interesting to me is Choice and your innovation. You're a very innovative organization. You have been for a long, long time. Tell us a little bit more about that.
It's so fun. We say hospitality company, but we also are a technology company. When we think about the things that are rolled out, we were, as you and I have talked about before, we were we're the first that had like the 800 central reservations type thing. And the way it worked then was I would pick up the phone and I would call the central reservation line, and then you would call the hotel to say,
What
hey,
you got?
what do you have available? So it was kind of this
Middleman.
phone tree. Yeah, and now you think how automated it is and how quick it shows things. Yesterday afternoon, I booked my hotel right by the airport because I have an early flight tomorrow, and I did it like at the touch of my fingers on my phone. We're the first hotel company that actually had the iPhone app. Everybody's, but at those times, that was a big deal.
When was that? Do you know?
Oh, my. No,
But you don't find. Yeah. I'm just curious.
but it's been a while. But we're the first that had a cloud-based property management system, so that owners can now be at home and check and see what's going on versus calling the front desk and pulling them away from what they want them to do, which is taking care of the guest.
Right.
So yeah, and it's been really cool as Choice University from the learning platform to be able to integrate the Motivators assessment through you all to be able. So what they do is they log in and we've created a piece of content that generates to get the email address so that you all can send the assessment. And it's been so great to see how people are using that. Again, using all of that technology as we can.
Yeah, we love that. It's gone from Judith, the Time Life operator, switching all the cords up to now you can just do it like you say on your phone and monitor everything. It's just so easy.
It is. Yeah.
And I love that aspect too, that philosophy that you're a technology company as well. You're not just a hospitality company, but you're a technology company.
Yeah, and as we think about it, the technology that comes, it's really about what technology do we need to use and how do we put it out there? Things that are going to drive people, that's going to drive the guest experience, that's going to drive the owner experience, and from our perspective within Choice, you drive the learner experience.
Yeah.
Because it's all
hitting them all.
What is it? Like the neck bone's connected to the, everything's connected, and it's the same with that. If we're going to create technology, it's not for the sake of, it's how is it going to drive the business?
Like a trifecta there, hitting all the main.
Yeah, you're taking care of your guests, the owners, and the
employees.
The teams that are internal.
No, for sure.
What? So tell us about the Motivators assessment and where has that helped you and your role and the amazing work that you do to reach so many people, maybe both internally and to the franchise owner.
That's a really good. I was going to ask, can we separate those because it's very different. If we, I'm sure there are times you got tired of me. I would text you or email you to say, I have to tell you what just happened. And fortunately now it's more proactive than reactive. But initially, when we started using the Motivators internally, and I'll start just with with our Choice University team versus the larger organization. With the team, if there people were struggling on a project they were working on, or things were taking longer than we really thought they should have, and what's the hiccup, what's the bottleneck? And I can't tell you how many times we would go and look, and it would be looking through the team members on there, and there's someone who it's one of their lowest motivators, and they're leading something that just doesn't fit with what motivates them, what gets them excited. And in human nature, we're going to do the things we want first. I mean, my to-do list, there's always that one thing on the bottom that is on the bottom every day for a week because I don't want to do it.
Only a week. I'm impressed. Mine's
Okay, probably a little more than one. But, but we do those things. And so, I have a great example. There was someone on the team who they were working on something, and it was to get started and get this rolled out, and then to pull in the team, a larger team, to help build it. And it was not moving, and I couldn't understand why. And then when I went and looked at the motivators, the lowest motivator on this person, like the least motivating motivator, was autonomy. And I was asking this person to do something on their own to kick off a project. It was like this, what was I thinking? So now, I don't have as many of those, oh, that's why I should have caught that. Now it's, okay, let's make sure we're aligning those things. Right. The staffing model right now everywhere is so challenging, and we're fortunate to have a lot of long-termers that are so engaging and so productive. Would hate to lose them. So really taking the time to, job sculpt, make sure that the projects we're putting people on align with what their motivators are. That doesn't mean not offering stretch, but to really make sure if we're asking them to do something, does it hit some of those top motivators?
Right. Meaningful to that.
Right. And the efficiency and the effectiveness that we see from that type of approach is seen across the organization.
It's music to our ears.
We also partnered with our customer care team and did, for their entire team, they did the motivators assessment, and we did kind of a really short what to think about. And there were some, not really conflict points, but points where there was some friction around things maybe getting done as quickly as they could. And when we started looking at those, there was no surprise. It was, well, what if we shifted the language this way, or shifted this process based on what's motivating the teams that are coming together as that? And you really saw a difference.
They're such simple concepts with big impact, right?
It's, what is it they say? It's simple, not easy.
Right.
It seems like,
your quote, simple wins the day.
Yeah.
Really, at the end of the day.
It's not rocket science. It's just, hospitality isn't rocket science. It's take care of people, be nice to people, do those things. But that sounds really simple, but it's not always easy to execute on. And I think this is very similar to that, to how do you incorporate these concepts to keep your team motivated, to keep the momentum going.
Right. And to create that visibility, right?
Right.
Because even myself, the first time I took it, it's like, we could probably pick, a handful of motivators that we know motivate us.
Absolutely.
But could we effectively rank 23 motivators? No. And so it's really eye-opening.
We've had such rich conversations around some of the motivators specifically. I can think of, one example that you and I talked extensively about, because there was someone on the team that really had a hard time, that social responsibility was a very low motivator. And this is a person who was always, it was service before self. I mean, that was the way they lived everything. And, to realize that wasn't a high mood, because they didn't need any more of that. They were getting that. So it was other things they were getting from a work perspective. And the difference in the buy-in from this person, once we were able to have that conversation, say, it's not that it's that you don't need any more. That your bucket on that is full. Yeah. You don't need that to make you want to get up and come to work. And it was such a shift in the buy-in of, okay, now let me see how these motivators work. Because that was a hang-up. Yeah. When not understanding why something that was so important to this person was a lower motivator.
Yeah, I remember that conversation too. And what was really cool about that is that, you don't notice, or you don't really have that insight until you have the assessment in front of you. You're looking and you go, okay, now that makes sense. Okay, I understand that a lot better now. And it kind of pulls back the curtain.
It does. You can't have that kind of conversation without some data to support it, which the reports from the motivators bring to you. Yeah. That's not a conversation that makes any sense outside of that.
Right. And you talk about building diverse teams. This is another element, right? That below waterline.
Yeah. Every time we have a new person on Choice U, that's their first week. And we have a really unique leadership structure within Choice U. I don't know how it works because in my mind, it doesn't make sense that it should work. But we have a truly matrix leadership. So there are people who do not directly report to me if you look at an org chart, but most of their projects and most of their work are on my side. And people that actually directly do report to me, their higher percentage of some of the projects and the work that they're doing is with another leader. So being able to share the motivators across as we're building these teams, and for another leader to look at someone that's doing a project that they technically report up through a org chart reporting, that they have the same insights. They can see the same things.
Definitely. Having that in the platform, that visibility.
Yeah.
And creating the cross-collaborative teams. I mean, that's critical.
It is.
And you don't see that a lot in a lot of organizations and with some of the training elements and things that they use.
It's so beautiful to see it actually in action, to take a step back, because sometimes you're so in it, you don't necessarily see it, but when someone points it out and you take a step back and look and, wow, that's really amazing that it works that way. But I do attribute a lot of it to more information that we have about people. You always talk about, if you want to motivate your teams, you have to know what motivates them, and it's different for everybody. And it's one thing to ask them, but it's another thing to be able to look at stuff like this and see it.
Yeah.
The other part of that question, though, Lance, that you asked was around, I kind of want to take a two-part. So we also, as a franchisor, we have, over 8,000 hotels that are franchised, and our award-winning hotels have one of the packages, pieces of the package for the award winners is access to the motivator assessment and the reporting for that. And so
we encourage that around here.
And we've got, as we've got two of our team members, two of our learning facilitators who've been certified through the programs for the education, and what they can bring to the hotels to talk about from a leadership perspective, what do the leaders, for them to know what motivates them. But then now this year and in end of 23 and 24, we're really trying to provide education to them on now how do they use that to really impact change with their teams as well. And that's what I think has been missing the first, the little bit that we've been doing this with the franchisee facing side, to look at that.
Well, I love that you moved it to the franchisees as well and given them that benefit, because you've told me a number of different stories of just how it's helped them. So
yeah, it really does. It's funny to look across, hospitality and different departments. If you start to look at, if you're looking across these departments, this department seems to generally have higher motivators in this area. In this department, you think autonomy, our room attendants, those people that are individually cleaning the rooms every day or cleaning the public space. Autonomy is often very high on their motivators.
Yeah.
And it is often very low on our front desk or our food and beverage teams that are front of the house.
What?
And it just shows to align that these people are probably in the right roles. We looked across, it was a great moment, and it was a lot of laughing around moment when we looked across the Choice University motivators and how many people had learning in their top 3. We're a learning organization, and the team.
Don't say.
Right. But go right back to what you said at the beginning. Walk the walk.
Right. That's really validating too, though.
Yeah.
Right?
So, in the hospitality industry, it probably doesn't fit better anywhere else than here, that the customer experience never exceeds that of the employee experience, right? That's a phrase that we love here at FindMojo. Tell us how the motivators assessment and understanding that contributes to that state.
I think it's even bigger. You were talking at the very beginning, we were talking about kind of the company culture for Choice Hotels, and we have a welcome, wanted, respected culture. So we want our everyone on the team with Choice Hotels International to feel welcome, wanted, respected. And again, as that becomes truly a culture, and it's not just, in the beginning, it's always going to be kind of words. You've got to get the buy-in. And as we've seen that buy-in grow, things that are going out. So the programs that we deliver for the hotels, the content that we create, the videos, the e-lessons, all those have that welcome, wanted, respected piece to it. And you can feel it. You can see it in there.
That's important.
Yeah.
Tell us how you utilize the data, not only from the motivators assessment, but from the demographics that get captured to help you.
That's a great question, because there's a perfect example from this week. We were working on a class, and we were doing an education session around the 5 generations that are currently in the workforce, and talking about it from a hotel perspective. And you all were able to provide us data that talked about the top 3 and the bottom 3 motivators by these age ranges, which overlaid with what we were talking about from the generations. And we found that the data that we're pulling from this right now aligns completely with all the other studies on this. So things like the traditionalists, so the oldest generation we have in the workforce right now, they grew up in a world of, factory work, independently doing it, and the autonomy is one of their top motivators. And that's what your reporting showed as well. Things like recognition, and I forget how it was worded on this, but like praise and recognition and feedback is really low because that generation, no news was good news.
Yeah.
Right. But then the flip. So on the millennials and the Gen Z, that recognition is really a high motivator, but they want frequent feedback. They grew up in a time of, there was so much conflict. They grew up through, their coming of age time was during COVID when they were so independent, and now they're craving that, and they want to grow. So that feedback gives them the chance to grow, that recognition.
Everything's
so
still on demand these days.
I was going to bring that up, right?
Yeah, and like we've talked about before, the social responsibility aspects. When you look at the social responsibility aspects specifically for millennials and for the Gen Z being so high, and that's what your data is showing that we've seen, and then that's what all of the studies are saying, that's where their focus is. It's the save the world generation.
It is impact.
Yes.
Is super high.
Yes, and that's what they're looking for. It's the money is not as high a motivator for the younger generations coming in. Again, it's with anything, as long as their needs are being met from right. But when it gets to what's actually motivating, it's, am I making an impact? And that might not just be with the company, the social, and you look at how many social programs companies have nowadays that didn't exist. I mean, when I came into we have a certain number of days with choice that you can take off to volunteer. And, we enter those in our system that way. So to have those sense of the social responsibility piece to reference to that.
Right.
So I actually have a question for you. We're seeing things change when I look at our reporting. So we had our entire Choice U team redo the motivators before a meeting recently. We're seeing changes. Some of the hotels that are multi-year award winners are retaking with their teams. And I'm seeing some changes in like the top motivators and some of the bottom ones in that. Are you seeing that? Is that unique to what we're doing, or are you seeing that across the companies that you're partnering with?
Yeah, we see it all the time. In fact, what's interesting is before the pandemic, if you would have said, hey, how often should somebody take the motivators assessment? I would have said, I don't know, every 2, 4, or 5 years, something like that.
Actually, I think I asked that question in 15. I think the answer then was like 5 years.
Yeah, just make sure things are in alignment, right? But we saw that over the pandemic, especially, that things not only change over time, but they could change very quickly, possibly even overnight, depending on what's going on with family relationships, work relationships, health, income, a pandemic, any of that could really change motivators and change them quickly.
Well, and definitely during the pandemic, what did we see? We saw remote work happening. We saw people being let go. So teams were changing, downsizing. There were mergers happening, getting new bosses. People were getting sick and dying. And so professional versus personal life, we definitely recognize that's changed.
That's one of the motivators. I saw a lot of change across the team. Some family became higher because they actually were having more time and they were appreciating. Some of it actually went lower. It was I want my space back. And there's is benefit to some healthy separation sometimes.
We had another client who brought this up, and challenge was high and challenge became super low, right? The pandemic was challenging enough.
Yeah, talk about a full bucket.
Right.
It had a full bucket of challenge.
Mm-hmm. And so it's super critical to keep a pulse on motivation, because if you take it, great. But if you're operating off old data, then are you really going to move the needle?
I think that's one of the things that fascinates me so much about this type of assessment, as opposed to so many of the other ones that we've done in the past that were more personality driven or that are almost hardwired, that they don't change. But this, it fosters and it encourages revisiting and talking to those things. And
well, and to your point, personality, like who you are, you're right. It's baked in, right? And you probably take that once in your life.
And if you take it a second time, it's going to vary minor.
Right. It's going to be different. Right.
Yeah.
But it's important, right? And then you've got, strengths-based assessments and, what you're good at. But just because you're good at something doesn't mean you enjoy doing it, right?
That's such a great point. We talk about that a lot in the hospitality industry. It's not unique just to hotels, but hospitality in general. We often promote the person who does the job the best. Just because I do the job the best doesn't mean I know how to lead others or that I want to lead others. So looking at those motivators, developing others, if that's low on there, does that really mean just because they're the best at this job, they want that next, what the career ladder next step looks like?
Well, and we manage that way too, right? We say, oh, she's really great at spreadsheets, but she hates Excel, She's great at it. She'll do it, but does she love it? No.
That's so it keeps getting moved to the bottom of the list every
right. Totally. Yeah.
Well, it's a great clarification between strengths and motivators.
Oh, yes.
Some of the words are the same or similar, but they can be different for a strength versus what actually gets us out of bed in the morning.
Absolutely. There's definitely overlap there, but motivation is really a missing link right now.
Yeah.
And so, or not right now. Missing link all the time. Yeah.
Always.
Especially right now. Yeah.
I think you see it more. It's becoming more acceptable for people to change jobs. It used to be a bad thing. Oh my gosh, you've got 3-4 jobs on your resume. Why can't you stay? That's not the case anymore.
Or you had a gap.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot that's changing. And
so just the dynamics in the workforce in general, I think is going to change some of the motivators.
Yeah.
That people see.
Well, one of the things too, not only do they have multiple jobs over a certain period of time, a lot of employers don't know that their employees have other jobs at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. It amazes me how many people I talk to that are doing DoorDash or driving Uber, and they eat like those type. The technology is changing the way we do things and what's acceptable and what's not. And again, what motivates.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
You are a super busy person. You're all over the place. Every time we talk, it seems like you're, in one state or another.
I have 4 more to visit. So.
Good.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. We're down to 3.
Oh, hey, we're knocking them off.
Check one off.
I like it. So what helps you be productive? Tell us a productivity hack. I'm always looking for a good productivity.
I've got to tell you this hack that I've been so fortunate to work with so many great leaders through my career. I don't want to say that I didn't learn from the bad leaders, but the bad bosses. But I have one leader that I truly view as a mentor, and it was shared with me because variety, excitement, learning. So creativity are some of my top ones. So getting things started, I love. And then it gets to that point of how do you get it to the finish line? It's all these details. I'm like, oh. And that's the thing that moves me. Because look, there's this bright, shiny new project I can start now. Right. But really, I can't start it till I finish these. And it's often these little details. But the Pomodoro effect. Have you heard of this technique? So it's a time management technique, and I wish I knew where it actually originated. But
Italy.
I would think so. I picture those little timers, that look like the little tomatoes on there.
Yeah.
But so it's doing things in chunks of time. So focusing on something for 20 minutes and then a forced 5-minute break. When I first tried to employ, I was like, this sounds so cheesy. How is it going to work? But I was like, I'm going to do it for a week. I'm going to see what really happens. Because this was one of those where I probably had that one thing on the list. I said a week, it's probably been a month. And I was like, I'm going to get this done. So I did it. It was like, I'm going to break that down and I'm going to do 20 minutes and I'm going to take a 5-minute break, which means that's part of hard with work from home is if you don't force yourself to stop, sometimes you just keep rolling. And then what happens to your productivity, creativity just drops. So what I found by doing those 20-minute and literally setting a timer and getting up and walking out, going to take the dogs out, going, just something, making it a true break, not I'm still looking at my phone. It's a true break. And then coming back and doing 20 minutes more. That thing that had been on my list for it's probably plural, not just mine, was done in like a day. Because taking that approach of, so I find that when I'm dreading something, that I do that. Because then I also know there's a stop point. I'm only going to focus on this for 20 minutes, and then I'm going to stop.
I love that. And there's another, I guess you could call it hack. And I want to say it has something to do with a frog, but you do it first. So that's going to be the hardest. So I want to combine that with what you're saying.
We can dig into that a little more because you're right. It is do the first thing, the
hardest thing first.
But knowing there's an end,
right,
I think that was the motivator for me to be able to actually get it done. 20 minutes, I'm done.
Yeah.
I like it.
And then it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Move on.
The Pomodoro frog.
Right. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Oh, I love it. Yeah. I love the last question. If like there's anything that you want to share, you feel like you'd love for us to know, you think could be helpful to others who are thinking about the Motivators assessment or who are struggling with some of the challenges of engagement and productivity and stress and anxiety, what would you share? What would you tell them?
I think, I got to think through this a second, but I think it's not a one. I think it goes back to, it's not like the other things that are baked in. It's not a one and done. And how do you revisit it? And how does it apply? I think looking at, hey, we've got this team that's been together for this long. And, one of the things that we realized we were doing because of the Motivators is we had the same people leading projects. We always went to the same,
STP, the same 10 people.
Yeah, but it wasn't even 10. It was, but yeah. Yeah, but yeah, we'd go to the same people. But by looking at the Motivators, it was like, this project better aligns with this person leading it. Now, that doesn't mean they have to, like, they can't partner across, but that was a big eye-opener for us.
Play chess, not checkers. Managing to the one versus the masses. So do you have any parting words or things that you'd like to express or tell us about before we go?
One of the things that occurred to me as we were talking through this is this isn't a one and done. Like we said, things change. But even if things aren't changing, if you are having team members retake this and things aren't moving a lot, that's not a bad thing. But do you still revisit it and see how does it apply to what we're dealing with now? Because maybe our motivators don't change, but maybe the circumstances in which we're creating projects, maybe the types of projects have changed. So does that shift who should be leading and who should be partnering together that we hadn't considered before? I think it comes from there. And I had one parting thing from this week that someone pointed out in the session. It was, we were talking about our front desk teams at hotels, and people were saying, we finally get them all trained up. They're all millennials, they're all Gen Zs, and as soon as they're trained up and they're efficient and they're doing great, they're going to the next role. And so we started looking at, and that's where looking at the information you gave about the top motivators based on their age groups.
Yeah.
The millennials and the Gen Z had autonomy is so low. Front desk is generally working on their own, one person. So we had a great discussion with this group of owners on, so how do you make someone that is, the job is pretty autonomous. How do you make them feel a part of something bigger and how that it's not all on their own? And so that was such a rich discussion of how can they retain some of that great talent by understanding what motivates their teams.
Yeah, that fits right in with what you were saying about playing chess and not checkers earlier today. And yeah, that's remarkable. I love that. And we get some of our best examples of how to use the Motivators assessment from our power users like yourself.
I hope to see those numbers go up this year as we have more award winners because our company's grown. Yeah. More hotels, and so more award winners and more people engaging.
Yeah. Well, you went from about 2,000 properties to 8,000 in about 5 seconds. So
all right.
You guys are going like crazy. Christy, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. It gets so energized. Obviously, this is I get so energized talking to you about how to apply these things and how we can use them in some of our learning programs so that it impacts the hotels more directly and our guests.
Yeah. Every organization would be lucky and blessed to have a
Christy Price, for sure.
Thank you all so much. I really enjoyed it, and it was so great to spend time with you again and learn something every time I get the chance to talk to you.
So we're looking forward to working with you for years to come.
I hope so. Thank you.